It's good, right?
Yeah, heck yeah. See, I get my light on up. Good.
So they're getting the notifications right now, and they should be on here in a minute. And once we get a count up, it's connecting right now. Okay, good. Um, and then Elizabeth said she'll stop through as well and talk for a minute. She's in DC, so it'll be good to get her perspective as well.
Definitely will. Definitely will, man. I'm still processing the video clip I just seen from Trump, if I'm being real with you.
Yeah, no,
Like,
let's talk about that.
what?
Let's talk about that. And he says it so matter of factly, and you've got the war criminal Netanyahu right next to him as well. And it's going to get worse. That's the scariest part. We're not even at rock bottom yet. It's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah. I mean, we just in what, fifth day of February.
Yep.
I feel like he got in office on the 20th, January 20th.
Yep.
So he ain't been in office for a full month, man. It seemed.
Yep. Um, all right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Qasim Rashid. This is the one and only Consciously, someone that I've had the privilege and pleasure of working with on these conversations and dialogues for quite some time. And we're excited to have this conversation today. Maybe excited is the wrong word. We're grateful to have this conversation today on just kind of the state of our union, state of the world, a lot to cover. And so throw your questions in the chat. But you guys know who I am. But I want to make sure we introduce our guests. And I can't think of a better way than Conscious. Take it away. I'd love for you to introduce yourself to the audience today.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Definitely. I'm George Consciously. Most people know me as Consciously. I like making content about race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, being able to make, an analysis about power and domination with using different pop culture. I have a master's degree in human relations and a master's degree in adult and higher education. And I like using my expertise and professionalism really to teach the adults on the internet about, different things it's implicated within identity. And tonight, hoping to have a nice, raw, real, organic conversation. We ain't got to use a whole bunch of code words, and we can just really, talk about what's going on.
Absolutely. And I want to emphasize that. Bring your questions. This is a safe space in the sense that there's no question that's off limits. You're not going to get ransacked for a question. We know better, or we do better when we know better. And we know better by asking questions. The cure for ignorance, for being uninformed, is to ask. So consider that an open invitation. Conscious, to start with kind of the beginning, I want to start domestically and then go international. Domestically, we're seeing a kind of an onslaught, a blitzkrieg. Senator Chris Murphy described it as very similar description to what Hitler did when he came back into power. And one of the first things that Trump did was make this attack on DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, blaming Black and Brown people, women, disabled people, fabricating things, just making up things to justify his own incompetence and his own stripping down of the FAA, of safety regulations, of the hiring freeze. In any other world, any other country, a head of state does these things and a major accident happens and kills 67 people, they would be impeached, they would be forced to resign immediately. Here is just another Tuesday. What's the broader picture? It's not just DEI. What do you see as a broader picture here that he's trying to go after?
To me, I see it as being able to really get into Christian nationalism and being able to do it in a way that slides us very slowly into that. I watched this video on TikTok of this woman talking about how she grew up in a Christian fundamentalist home and how she grew up hearing about the blueprint of how, they would be able to kind of implement Christian nationalism. And I think what we're seeing right now is being able to return to those, you know, uh, 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 white Protestant, what they call it, the WASP, white Protestant, whatever that, I can't think of what it
White
is right now.
Anglo-Saxon Protestant, yeah.
That right there, you feel me? Like, I think that is the broader context, and recognizing that it's not just about how they're able to use anti-blackness as the Trojan horse and how they kind of being able to demonize, DEI, but how they're being able to also, I feel like, take away the actually not take away, put in barriers for women to be able to be a part of the work that I'm saying the market, but also being able to dictate or take away how women dictate or take away how people give birth and dictate the time and space of when they're able to give birth. So being able to criminalize reproduction, being able to make it where we take DEI away to make it where it's not against the law to do discrimination because discrimination don't exist. So we can gaslight you and say, hey, man, that ain't fault. So I think to me, that's what's going on. And I feel like the last thing I would say is it's the like me knowing that white women, the demographic of white women, particularly was able to put the nail in the coffin in the last few elections. You feel me? And damn, that be the swinging vote that makes the determination
Yeah.
of who gets to, you know what I'm saying, be the president. I think of Handmaid's Tale and how I got into that, you know what I'm saying, that particular series. And I just think about the catch 22 of being like, damn, the main character of this series is a white woman, but recognizing that the other, you know what I'm saying, nemesis in the series was also a white woman. And it's thinking about, in my mind right now, the will to power and how different people that ain't necessarily the capital white man, you feel me, the signified white
Yeah.
man, how people in proximity to the white man are able to will power. And it's just like that's right now it's on my mind, and how we can see that it's just bigger than DEI. It's really being able to bring in Christian nationalism.
And it goes back to really well said, and it goes back to his inauguration speech when he talked about manifest destiny. When he said that phrase, that set, I mean, it should have set a red flag off at anybody paying attention to that, because manifest destiny is the Christian nationalist, white nationalist
Okay.
ideology that justified enslavement of Africans, of genocide of indigenous peoples, and the perpetuation of that enslavement and genocide through different means. And this is a point that I think is important to remind folks, that just because the Emancipation Proclamation was passed, just because the 13th and 14th Amendment was ratified, just because formal means of genocide, of sending the army after the Dakota Sioux to kill them in broad daylight, just because that may have ended, the impact of that genocide perpetuates. The impact of that enslavement perpetuates through Jim Crow and through the Southern strategy. How do we help folks understand that we will not get to a place of racial or gender justice unless we have some kind of a meaningful reckoning with the history of this country? Our Truth and Reconciliation Commission, reparations, restitution, these are all things that South Africa has done, Germany has done, Japan has done, the United States has never done. And until we do that, until we get folks to understand that reparations are not a handout, they're not charity, they are a debt owed, that we cannot get to a place of healing. And when I say healing, I don't just mean Black people healing from the trauma of centuries of genocide and slavery. I mean white supremacists unlearning the white supremacy and returning to a sense of humanity and normalcy.
Definitely. For sure. For sure. I think that I feel like a lot of people out west, we view a lot of oppression and a lot of ongoing, I feel like a lot of historical things, we make it a part of the distant past and we forget about how it's ongoing right now. I spent 13 years in the state of Oklahoma where I was able to make a lot of, you feel me, meaningful relationships with people of the, Chutta Nation, of Seminole Nation, you know what I'm saying? Like really being able to chop it up with them and seeing what's going down, right? And what
Yeah,
I recognize is that because in America uniquely, we see progression as a way to rationalize necessary evil. It's like in order for us to get to 10, we had to go through 7 and 8 and 6.
yeah,
And 7 and 8 and 6 was a little bit of genocide, a little bit of slavery. But listen, you enjoy 10 though, right? If you enjoy 10, you can't get mad at what we did in 7 and 8 to get here. And I feel like that is a part of the unlearn and relearn that we have to do. Because I feel like to simplify what I'm saying, use some debate terminology to me, like some debate logic is like, what does it mean for us to say there are certain people that have to get over the past and that have to, you feel me, reconcile with how we have to move forward, but how other people get to always remind themselves of what they've been through and how we're always being able to be empowered by that by the past victimization, i.e.,
right.
what it means to be a patriot. You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? For me, it's like to me, it's like right now all of the things I've been called on the internet throughout the years, especially from the alt-right and conservatives, it's really like y'all call me a racial victim. You say I'm stuck in the past. You say I go out of my way to victimize myself. There has been no legislation that's been made for me feeling uncomfortable and feel like I'm being, you feel me, victimized.
Yeah,
But there has been legislation that's made. I'm talking about the last 4 years since I've been on. You feel me? I'm thinking like there has
Yeah,
been legislation passed over here for the potentiality of you to be discriminated against.
that's
And I'm
right.
really being like, people,
You know, somebody made brought up a question in the comments about how do we deprogram this, and I think it requires a framing of where we are right now. We've got a president who's a son of an active member of the KKK who was arrested for protesting with the KKK. We've got a shadow president who grew up in apartheid South Africa, whose father owned an emerald mine, and that's where he made his wealth and riches. And these two folks are running the country, and you got plenty of other billionaires who come from a white nationalist or white supremacist mentality or background continue to push us on. And then you look at all the bills to ban books by Black and LGBTQ authors, to ban access to this information, the demonization of CRT and of DEI, and whatever other scary word you want to think of. Um, this is all part of a plan, it's part of a design. And this is where when folks ask me, how do we deprogram? How do we get involved? I try to remind them of two things. One, there's no quick switch to fix this. And
yeah,
so if you're
not
looking for a quick switch to fix this, you're not going to find it and you're going to be disappointed. And two, you don't need to go to the White House and knock on the door and say, fix this. You got to start local. A lot of folks forget that the school boards on the local level is where all the CRT nonsense started, where all these book bans started. I think I read an article that like 9 or 10 people are responsible for 90% of the book bans in this country right now because
yeah,
they
a whole think tank.
yeah, they organized locally and they raised hell and it was effective. And so if you really want to have an impact, like right now with these ICE raids that are happening, I was actually heartwarmed to see ICE complain that here in Chicago, in my city, they were having difficulty finding migrants to arrest them because they were so well informed on how to stay safe from ICE and how to avoid ICE in the first place, to know their rights in the first place. And so my question to folks is, if you want to protect migrants right now, what are you doing with your local city council? What are you doing
Yes,
with your local law enforcement to make sure that they're not working with ICE? There's something called a 287G agreement, where it allows federal ICE authorities to deputize state and local police and force them to work for ICE. Break those agreements. Tell your city council to break those agreements. There's no reason why your local law enforcement that are being paid by your local tax dollars are narking on immigrants and making the lives of immigrants hell, denying them due process of law, denying them constitutional protections for the benefit of Donald J. Trump. It makes no sense at all. So you want to talk about deprogramming, it starts local. It starts by being involved. If you don't know who your school board members are, then educate yourself on that. If you don't know who your city council members are, educate yourself on that. If you don't know who your police chief is, educate yourself. Build those relationships, because I'm going to tell you, when those ICE agents come knocking, it's those relationships that are going to protect you more than anything else.
for sure. And I think in addition to that, I feel like we have to reckon with being able to sanitize American history and being able to zoom into 1933 Germany and not being able to recognize that most of the things that Hitler liked and Hitler learned from is for what was going on in America already. So when we think about how America was able to get out of the more non-palatable fascist regime that it was, you see what I'm saying, that made Hitler want to return to it. I thought we got to really sit with our actual history and not just scapegoat it off into being like, well, this is what happened in the 30s. First
Yep.
Hitler did this, then Hitler did that. Like, this is true. And we should learn that history, right? But it
Right.
doesn't mean, to me, it's like it's a lot of us that's sanitizing, romanticizing the American history almost to make it where the villain is outside, the villain is scapegoat out there. And I feel like, hey, it's not being genuine with the way in which our constitution is set up and the way in which we've already had oligarchs. You feel me? It's just that now new oligarchs, the transition of power, we seen happen before our eyes. But what I've learned about the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers, and you know what I'm saying, I can keep on naming names, like, hey, we have to really sit and think about how, you feel me, these people were able to really say they doing public good and public this, that, and the other, while doing a lot of the years some bureaucracies and interest groups to pass policies and being able to line their pocket at the expense of us American people that work every day, that's having to decide between paying bills and feeding ourselves. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that to me, that is a part of thinking about what we do on the local levels, thinking about how we teach people. Right now, there's to me, a lot of dialogue happening on the internet. And I don't think people recognize it, but they've been watching what's happening on the internet. I think that's why Republicans have been so masterful in a lot of their messaging, is that they obviously paying somebody to sit on this internet and talk,
Right.
see what we're talking about. With that
Right.
being said, we have to be very careful, I believe, in how we talk to each other, specifically about immigration, about illegal immigrants, undocumented citizens, about ICE, about literally different strategies of being able to, I feel like, mobilize around safety and security. And then the last thing I'll say is a lot of us have been real self-righteous and saying what you would have did if you lived
Hmm.
in this era and if you
Right.
lived in that era. You ain't gotta be a hypothetical no more.
Hmm.
What you doing right now is what you would have did
That's
then.
it. That's it. That's exactly it. Um, if you're not following consciously across all the platforms, make sure you do. The man drops gems every single day, and it's to your own benefit to pick them up and learn from them. Um, I want to talk
Make sure
about.
y'all do the same. If you're not following Casino too on all social media platforms, I think it's important. You feel me? Important to have somebody that's an expert and have somebody that really know what they're talking about. And I know when it comes to like legal analysis, especially when you involve it with the news, I feel like this definitely the man that I know for
I
sure. I
appreciate
didn't use. If you follow me, you know I didn't use many of his tweets to make videos.
that.
Many of them.
No, I appreciate that. It's funny. Somebody asked me the other day, "How can I be an ally to Black people?" I'm like, "Ask Black people." Like, why are you asking me? And I tagged you, I tagged Dara, I tagged a few other Black creators. I'm like, you got to ask them. Like, ask them how to be an ally. Don't come to me for that. If you want to come to me to ask about allyship with immigrants, I can help you with that. I'm an immigrant. With Muslims, I can help you with that. Racial minority, I can help you with that. But with Black people, ask Black people. It's not hard. Just
Nah,
find someone like Conscious and ask them, and I promise you,
I
he will
tell you for
answer you.
sure. I promise I'll answer you for
Um,
sure. For
I,
sure.
I want to talk about Gaza. I just got a comment, and I want to preface this by saying that the eternal optimist in me has to believe that these folks are well intentioned, but I need y'all to understand why this is a racist comment. It's a disgusting comment. It's a shameless comment. I posted on my Substack that forced displacement is ethnic cleansing. Is a component of genocide. Trump is admitting that every building in Gaza is leveled, which confirms that Netanyahu committed war crimes with indiscriminate bombing. And the U.S. taking over Gaza is a violation of international law. This is fascism, and it violates our Constitution and international law. And somebody responded, and I'm getting these comments all day. We told you, but you all insisted on punishing Biden and voting for Stein or Trump. So now live with the genocide that we effing told you would happen if Trump got in. We begged you not to skip the vote or punish Biden by not voting. Sometimes in life, none of your choices are good. Common sense dictates that you choose the least painful choice, not the choice that matches your emotional level. So now you're stuck with genocide. Caps lock, we told you. I have my thoughts. Conscious, what's your response to that?
To me, I feel like, man, you gotta take some people gotta take their head out their ass and really think about how much you know what you're talking about. To
Yeah,
me, it's like somebody that just bring up Gaza for a aha gotcha moment ain't finna tell me shit about the implications of what I've been doing. Especially
right.
me seeing your face and me, we both was at the DNC committee. You feel me? I mean,
Yep.
know what I'm saying? The national convention. It's like,
Yeah.
so you don't think that we can walk and chew gum at the same time? And
Right.
you sound like a Trump supporter. It sounds like to me you believe that whoever you politically support, that they are now immune from being criticized. To me, it's like, hey,
It's a cult. Yeah.
what to me, like to me, the people that say that, it's like I did more work in talking about reproductive justice and talking about healthcare. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And talking about, you feel me, defunding education and talking about Project 2025 and all the ways it's politically, socially, economically implicated with race, class, gender, ability, sexuality. So for you now to try to come and chastise and have this sweeping analysis of, I try to tell you, but you was just too busy criticizing Kamala Harris. It's like, hey, if you feel that way, to me, it's a double bind. Either you
Yeah.
full of shit and you have no idea what you're talking about, or you're completely right. And Kamala Harris chose to be more loyal to the corporations that were Zionists and to Israel than she was to being able to, will her constituents. That's really how I feel. It's a double bind, straight off top. You feel me? Either you full of shit and you're completely wrong, or you're right. And if you're
Right.
right, we have to ask ourselves, what could have Biden and the Harris and the Harris Walls administration campaign done to literally get those votes? Because if it's as simple as you saying, well, the reason why she ain't there is because you gossip people, then goddamn, it seemed like it was a simple resolve for this. A simple
Yeah.
resolve would have been, you say ceasefire, you say do something with the weapons. Okay, do that. You didn't
Yep.
do that. To me, it's like the last thing I say to end this little response, right?
No, I appreciate this.
When you and I was at the DNC convention, no. When you and I was watching the Kamala Harris Donald Trump debate, or did you feel the way I felt, or I felt like they had a Israel loyalty off? When
Oh,
they were
absolutely,
debating specifically on
absolutely.
who was the most loyal and
Yep,
who would be the best to back up Israel in every way, to me, so it's like you don't know the uniqueness of the American empire and genocide, specifically when it comes to they Middle Eastern allies that claim they're the only democracy in the Middle East. So you don't know what she's talking about. It's like to me, to me, it's almost like a bullshit ass street baller coming in to challenge somebody that's in the pros.
yep,
Even if you feel like they not LeBron James, you feel me? It's like stop
yep.
playing with me. And I'm being just to be clear, I'm saying me and him is in the pros when it comes to watching and thinking about the political, social, economic implications of policy, legislation, and how it impacts the everyday lived experiences of Americans. So if you're now thinking about, aha, I told you I got you, it's like, hey, so did you hear you hear what he said, huh? Donald Trump has said it's already been leveled. It's already been
Thank you.
leveled. No, it's already been leveled.
Yep,
Did he level it? Did he send a weapon? He no, he didn't. So they say two take two to tango. Don't try to absolve. You feel me? What has already happened to have to only care about what's like to me like the immediate. You feel me? Like
yep.
don't be captive to the man. Like I let you speak now. I'm annoyed though. To
No,
me,
you're
because
right.
I know when I make the video, people gonna be like, "We told you consciously, but you just wanted to say free Palestine." It's gonna be like, yeah, still free Palestine. And what else I did? What else
Yep,
I do?
yep. And that's exactly the point. That the damage. If you're only now recognizing the damage, it means you weren't paying attention when it was a genocide over the last not only year and a half, but the occupation and the humiliation and the desecration and the devastation and the mass murder. Do you know that on October 6th, a human rights organization published an article saying that the last year has been the worst year on record for Palestinian children being murdered by the Israeli military? Not even in Gaza, but in the West Bank. You tell me how you would respond if a foreign military came into your land and started murdering your children. Now, all that to say that the polling in the United States was explicitly clear. 77% of Democrats across the country, including in the swing states, told Joe Biden, told Kamala Harris, look, stop funding Netanyahu. Just stop funding him. That's it. Stop funding Netanyahu. And guess what? 63% of Republicans said the same thing. Stop funding Netanyahu. We don't want our tax dollars committing war crimes and genocide. 61% of independents said the same thing. 2/3 of the country, when 2 out of 3 voters in the country are telling you, stop committing genocide, that is not a purity test. That's a very basic thing. This is not like me saying, I want universal health care and Kamala Harris wants to expand health care, therefore it's a deal breaker for me. I could say that, but that to me is very different than don't commit genocide. The polling also showed, and by the way, this is not just one poll, 30 different polls showed this exact same thing. That even in the swing states, and by the way, she lost all 7 swing states. In the swing states, voters were 5 to 8 times, they said, we are 5 to 8 times more likely to vote for a Democrat if Kamala Harris comes out and says, I'm going to stop funding Netanyahu. Now, I think part of the problem was Joe Biden dropped out way too late. Harris had to meet 300 million people in 100 days. You know, it's actually quite appropriate in American history that a rich white guy drops out last second and tells a black woman, go figure it out and clean up my mess that I made for you.
Oh, my mama.
but when folks come to me and say we try to tell you, it's like no, we told you. The American people told you this is not a winning campaign. You're not going to win by running on funding genocide. It's just not going to happen. 19 million people, YouGov poll found out, 19 million people who voted for Joe Biden in 2020 decided to stay home in 2024. The number 2 reason why they stayed home was because of the economy. Because people don't realize that for as much as Biden talked about the stock market skyrocketing, poverty under Biden increased 66% in this country. People don't talk about that. Corporate media doesn't talk about that. But the number 1 reason was what? It was that if I've got a president who is going to be funding genocide, then I don't really see the difference between him and Trump. Now, we can argue about the merits of that position, but that's the reality. Perception is reality. That's where people are. That's where you got to meet people. And that's the part that pisses me off to this day right now when they're still saying, I told you so. It's like, no, you don't tell me anything. You told me that you were blind to genocide,
Oh
and now
God,
that Trump's doing the exact same thing, now suddenly you care and you want
you
to
care
lecture
about
others.
genocide.
When in actuality, you should have been looking internally the whole time.
Sounds like selective moral outrage to me, man.
Exactly right.
And this, let me just say something. I feel like as somebody that's born and raised down south, you know what I'm saying? As somebody that I feel like, a lot of the South, what I like to tell people is really purple, was just the conservatives that won gerrymandering a lot of times and been able to, you know what I'm saying, crowd out voices that don't rock with them.
Yeah.
But I'll be real with you. A lot of the black, Latino, white people that I know that's in Oklahoma and Texas that either A did not vote for Kamala Harris or
Yeah.
B that was going they voted for Trump and they did not in the last elections.
Yeah.
They said it was for the election. I mean, they said it's for the economy. So
Yeah.
me being in a inherently anti-Arab, you feel me, Islamophobic place, I just refuse to just look at people and be like, "Hey, no, you're wrong. I ain't gonna fight the study. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
fight the study. Goddamn, I ain't gonna fight the study. I ain't saying that, right? What I am saying though is that I think that we have to be able to be critical. And Democrats, people that support leftist, liberal, people that support, have to be very critical in thinking about the ways in which the Harris campaign got in its own way. Not only in terms of, you know what I'm saying, Palestine, you feel me, Israel, but to me, it's like I cringe when I heard her say drill, baby, drill.
Yeah. I
You
know.
feel
I
me?
don't get
Hey,
it.
hey, 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 as an influencer, Kasim, I don't know if you was on the campaign, but hey, I was on specific, you feel me, projects to amplify specifically what the Harris Biden campaign, no, but the Biden Harris presidency did when it came to environment. When
Yeah.
it came to
It was devastating.
passing historical legislation for CO2 emissions, being able to, that's what we were celebrating.
Yeah.
And that was some celebrating that shit in, like, you feel me,
Yeah.
May,
Yeah.
April. How all of a sudden you talking about drilling, baby, drilling?
And flipping on fracking as well when we know how destructive that is. And this is the point that I think where I get frustrated with Democrats. And look, I've been a Democratic nominee for U.S. Congress. So I'm not sitting here playing Monday morning quarterback armchair activist. I've been in the trenches. I've knocked more than 10,000 doors. I've raised hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for Democrats. I've worked to get dozens of Democrats elected. I've got my resume and credentials. I can flex that if I need to. But my point is this on a matter of principle, and I think you said this earlier, Conscious, really beautifully. If we are going to call out Republicans for not holding Trump accountable, but then we don't hold our own people accountable, how are we any different? And I'm not trying to both sides it. I'm trying to point out a principle that our standard has to
Principle.
be justice. Otherwise, we don't really have a standard. John Stewart said this really well, maybe 15 years ago, when talking about closing down Guantanamo Bay. And guess what? The fact that it was left open, now Trump is building a 30,000 person concentration camp right there. He was criticizing Obama, and he said that if the only time you hold on to your values is when it's easy, they're not values, they're hobbies.
Oh
And the
God.
fact that every president since Bush ran on shutting down Gitmo and then refused to do so is one of the reasons why we're in this mess right now. But I'm reading the comments, and folks are asking about solutions. So, second half of our conversation, I want to talk about solutions because we've got a climate crisis. I was in LA a couple of weeks ago providing pro bono legal aid to fire victims. We've got an economic crisis. We've got the worst wealth and income inequality in the history of this country, worse than it was before the Great Depression. We've got a housing crisis. Housing has become so unaffordable. Rents are getting astronomical depending on what part of the country you're in. I was talking to a developer. He's building studio apartments and plans to rent them out for about $3,000 a month. It's out of this world. We've got a racial injustice crisis. We've got a prison industrial crisis. We've got a militarization crisis. What are the solutions? What gets you up every morning, Conscious, and says, "I'm gonna fight today. I'm gonna keep pushing." What makes you think it's worth it?
I actually got a lot of. I mean, I'm married. I got 2 kids, but also I feel like my ancestors literally put blood, sweat, and tears here to make it where I can have a better reality than the reality they was living when they was here. You see what I'm saying? And for me, it's like the warrior, the fighter in me, the hustler in me. It's like shit. I'm born and raised in Texas. I'm talking to y'all right now from Texas. And whether you're talking to a redneck from Texas, a Latino from Texas, a black person from Texas, or a white person in Texas, shit, we talk to, you feel me, fight. So it's like I'm not finna let no redneck from Texas run me up out of here. I'm
Mm,
born and raised in the same city that my father's side of the family was slaves in. You feel me?
mm.
Like I can go to the other
Powerful.
side of town and I can see literally the land my ancestors worked. And I just know I'm a debater. I'm gonna defend the shit. To me, it's like the most practical thing I think we gotta do right now is really be able to sit with their arguments and thinking about how to defend ours. The whole repackage, the whole fuck all that. Excuse my language, fuck all that. You see what I'm
Yeah,
saying? To
I
me,
got
when
you.
I think about what's
Yeah,
going on, whatever they said about being woke, whatever they said about CRT, whatever they saying about progressive politics, whatever they saying about DEI, it's the same. It's the same link. It's the same impacts. It's the same discomfort that they weaponizing.
that's
Right
right.
here, what this means is you need to fight back in a way and defend in a way where it's like shit, it's on us. So for
Yeah,
me, it's like, but right now specifically, I'm gonna defend DEI. I'm gonna defend DEI. So to me, it's like what, like really, like I'm a former debater. I came from a debate tournament, running a spec argument. I want you to specify what part of DEI that you don't like. I want you to give me the impact of why you don't like it. I
that's
also
right.
gonna call your bluff the way I did in CRT. Can you give me a author, a book, a journal that really gets into the ins and outs of what DEI is? Because just like CRT, you couldn't give me no author, you couldn't give me no book, you
They can
couldn't
give
give
you
me
a
no journal.
definition. They can give you a basic definition of what it
It's
is.
bad. So I want you now to give it to me. And now it's just like, hey, to me, I want everybody, all 400 of y'all looking at this shit. To me, I think this is, I believe education is elevation. I'm a former debate coach. I won national championships, and I believe education is a great way to be assessed through argumentation. To me, this is the gotcha, and this to me is like what we gotta sit with. If
I love it.
diversifying things is bad, diversity is bad, diversifying spaces and places is bad. Why don't you feel the same way when it comes to diversifying your portfolio?
Mm,
So is diversifying your
mm.
portfolio good or bad, and why?
I love it.
Is it? So when you're trying to build equity inside your goddamn portfolio that you know you got to diversify, why don't you have a beef with equity in this instance?
Mm,
So when
I
you think
love it.
about inclusion, when you're thinking about diversifying your portfolio and increasing or including other streams or including other stocks, how come you don't have a beef with inclusion that way? So when Elon Musk and your bitch ass billionaire oligarchs is being able to literally diversify their portfolio by including other, I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg, your boy now. He DEI'd his way into a monopoly.
Yep.
Anytime he shit, what to me is like what are we to me is like what we talking about, what we doing, but we gotta defend this shit. And to me, if you I can flirt down a little bit right now, get a little fiery sometimes.
I love it.
But
Fire
but
up.
to me, it's like if you're a part of a organization or a business or a corporation and you're looking for the language of being able to defend DEI, holler at me.
Yeah.
Holler at me. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? We can I think that we can come up with great ways to talk about the political, social, economic implications of DEI while also getting into the ethics and morals of it while being able to talk about that bottom line I want to talk about. You see what I'm
That's right.
saying? That's what they care about. So
That's
how
right.
can we say caring about Negroes and gays gives you profit? Slippery slope, I recognize. But it's the language we got to get into. And when I say defending it, that's what I'm talking about. Like, really, like, hey, I'm very critical. I know neoliberalism is bad, but
Yeah.
these motherfuckers is beating us for neoliberalism. You got to get, to me, it's like my beef with Democrats is that you stuck in time. You
Yeah.
stuck in oh 04, oh 05,
Right.
oh 08 respectability politics, and you still trying to worry about what to do to make sure them folks like you.
Yeah.
Whether you laugh with Donald Trump at Jimmy Carter's funeral or not, they still gonna be like, fuck you and your followers.
That's right.
You feel
That's
me?
right.
My beef with Democrats right now is how the hell you got more smoke for Snoop Dogg and Nelly than you had for fucking Barack Obama's chi with him. If a Barack Obama, if he believed an ounce of what he said about Trump being an existential threat to democracy, hey, Donald Trump said that me and him the enemy within. Hey, all 484 of y'all are referred to what Donald Trump say the enemy within.
That's right.
So he
And then you're
go,
hanging out at the funeral. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. And
oh,
that's
that
the
shit
part that
crazy
scares
to
me
me,
to
bro.
me.
Like,
And it's, I think about, we've all read the Peanuts comics, Charlie Brown. We've all seen the Charlie Brown and Lucy strip where she's like, I'm gonna hold this football and I'm gonna let you kick it this time. And he goes, are you sure? At the last second, she pulls it away. And it's like, Charlie Brown is the Democrats, Lucy's the Republicans every single time. We remember the 1994 crime bill that Joe Biden passed to look more conservative. People forget, and I think it's Dr. Michelle Alexander talks about this in her book, The New Jim Crow, that when Bill Clinton was running for president, he stopped his campaign to go back to Arkansas to oversee the execution of a man who was so mentally handicapped that he didn't know he was being executed. And how do we know he didn't know he was being executed? Because he got his final meal, and then he got his dessert, and he said, you know what? I'm going to wait till tomorrow to have this dessert. And then they executed him. And afterwards, Bill Clinton said, don't let anybody ever say that I'm not tough on crime. He's trying to outdo Republicans. 94 crime bill, that's what it was all about. Welfare reform, exploitation, that's what it was all about. Repealing Glass-Steagall, that's what it was all about. And then on the immigration side, Democrats have done the exact same thing. Biden ran talking about what kind of a fascist president bans asylum. And then guess what Biden did when he was president? He implemented the exact same policy as Donald Trump. And so my point is, we need a true opposition party that's actually going to run on the values that people care about. When you got 63% of Americans, 77% of Democrats saying stop funding Netanyahu, then damn it, stop funding Netanyahu. It's a basic principle. Imagine, I was talking to somebody about this, and they're like, well, it's more complicated than that. I'm like, all right, let me ask you a different question. What's your top issue? I said, what's your top issue? So for me, it's abortion access. I'm like, okay, you're right. That's a good one. Because about 80% of Americans support abortion access. Same number as who want to stop funding Netanyahu. If Joe Biden came out and said, look, I'm a Catholic. We don't believe in abortion. It's wrong. I'm a Democrat, but I'm a Catholic. I'm not going to allow abortion anymore. Are you going to vote for him? Like, oh, no, of course not. That's a deal breaker for me. I'm like, thank you. So you get it. You get it when it affects you personally. But if you don't have the humanity and decency to get it when it affects a Palestinian, then you're missing the point. And you're starting to understand why the respectability politics doesn't work and why people are not voting, why they're not coming out to vote the way we need them to come out and vote. We got to run on these ideas, and they got to matter, and we got to stand behind them. Why? I was looking at this the other day. I was thinking about this. Why does the Mexican president have an 85% approval rating right now? You know that? She has an 85% approval rating right now.
I had no idea.
Because every time Trump punches, she punches back in a more eloquent way. She doesn't back down. And people want a fighter. It's human nature. You want a fighter. You want someone who you know is going to protect you and look out for your interests. You can't tell me you're a fighter because you want to fund the military more or have the most lethal military in the world when I don't have a place to live. That's not what a fighter is.
Oh, God.
You are a fighter when you're looking for the. I'll close with this, and I'll throw it back to you. But going back to this point you made about your ancestors, this is where I think about James Baldwin. And late in his life, he made two comments that I think about often. And I'll start with the critical one first, and then the inspirational one. On the critical one, somebody asked him about time for progress. And he said that, what do you want me to resign myself to? You've always told me it's taken time. He goes, I've lived here almost 60 years. I'm not going to be here another 60. You keep telling me it takes time. It's taken my mother's time, my father's time, my brother's time, my sister's time, my aunt's time, my uncle's time. How much more time do you want for your progress? And so to me, it speaks to the urgency of now. And then the second thing he says, the inspirational one, that one's inspirational too, but this one really focused on inspiration, where the journalist asks him, how do you overcome the despair that you feel in the world? And now, this is James Baldwin, a gay black man who grew up in Jim Crow America. You want to talk about getting an arrow thrown at you from every angle? This is a man who suffered through all of it and came out prosperous. And he says to me, or says to the journalist, he says, I've never despaired at the world. I've been angry at it, but I've never despaired, because I can't tell the children, I can't tell my niece and nephew that there's no hope. You can't tell them there's no hope. And to me, that is what I hold on to right now when it feels hopeless, that at the end of the day, to your point, conscious, that you made earlier, your ancestors here, my ancestors who suffered through British imperialism and suffered through the atrocities, the genocide imposed upon people of East Pakistan, the people of South Asia. People forget that 4 to 5 million were killed in the 20th century due to famine and genocide imposed by Winston Churchill. What we went through there, that the hopelessness um, can't enter our system because we see what our ancestors did to get us to where we are now. And I see it as our obligation and our privilege to continue that fight so that our children have something better than what we have right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of the ways that Republicans are able to be persuasive and hone their base is talking about the futurity of kids and talking about, how we should how we should be able to, create an America that's a great climate for how their kids can survive, and making sure the generations can, what I'm saying, thrive and be good and white. To me, it's just like that's what we in for, and thinking about the Black Panther Party and the CIA and how literally being able to empower children was about how we're able to criminalize different groups. Even when we think about Hitler, the way that Hitler was able to, persuade the youth to join this movement, that's what made him dangerous. When we talk about how law enforcement is able to, demonize different gangs, to talk about how gangs are able to appeal to children. Right now, I'm thinking about all the ways that I'm 34 right now, but 20 years ago, I was 14 years old. And I know
Yeah,
shit was bad right now. I knew shit when I was bad when I was 14. I'm thinking about right now, somebody that's 14 right now. Like you get saying, like you can't make a child feel like there's nothing to live for. That's nihilism. That's the type of nihilism I think that doesn't give a quality of life that I feel like is cool. For me, it's like being real, being raw, but also really like recognizing that there's always a little bit of optimism in this pessimistic world that we live in. You know what I'm saying? And to
yeah,
me, not being cruelly optimistic, not being like the world is on fire, but like shit's bad.
yeah,
I'm gonna acknowledge shit's bad. You
yeah,
feel me? My kids can hear me saying shit's bad right now. You
yeah.
feel me? But hey, we still got a reason to wake up and smile and laugh and shit.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
I think about, I ask every person, write down what's your superhero origin story. Right? What gets you out of bed? What makes you think about it? And it could be something as simple as a promise you made to yourself as a kid. It could be something as simple as, I I've lost some really small, right? I've lost about 30 pounds over the last 5 months, and part of it is because I saw a video of myself from when I was 17 years old that said that when you're 50 you better still have a six pack, and so to me that was like, man, I can't. Now I don't know if I'm going to get my six pack back, but I'm like, I can't betray that 17-year-old kid who I know was on the cross country and track team, captain of the team, running 6 to 8 miles a day in high school, 10 to 15 miles a day in college. I can't betray that kid, and so for me, getting back into shape, that's my motivation in that respect. But then on a broader scale, when I think about this last November, I took my family back to Pakistan. I showed my children their great grandfather's ancestral village, where there still is cobblestone roads. There's still no consistent electricity, no consistent running water. There's an outhouse, and I said to them that if your grandfather hadn't immigrated here with $30 in his pocket, this is what your life would have been. And I need you to understand that what you've been gifted living in comfort in the United States, it is a gift. You're an American. You were born here. You're a citizen through and through. But don't forget where you came from, and don't forget the struggle that your grandfather and your great grandfather went through to get you to a place that they couldn't have even dreamed of when they were your age. And I think for me, that's what keeps me going. In the final 15 minutes, Conscious, I want to talk, solutions, positivity. How can folks support your work? How can they get involved with you? I keep forgetting you're only 34. You're an old soul. You've got wisdom beyond your years. I keep forgetting. I'm like, I'm going to be 43 soon. I keep seeing you as a contemporary age-wise, and I forget you're a decade younger than me.
That's funny.
You're an old soul, and it's a beautiful thing. I love that about you, of many things. But how can folks get involved with the work you're doing? What kind of advocacy are you focused on? I know you do a lot of mentoring, especially of young people, but how can folks connect with you and get involved with the work you're doing?
Yeah, man. My website is theconsciouslead.com. I do a lot of workshops, facilitations, and keynotes around professional development, diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as different like learning and development type skills. My expertise, you feel me, is really education. I got a master's in education. And that's what I'm good at. I'm good at getting into, lesson plans, getting into curriculums. If you feel like your shit dry, and you feel like your students and your people in your organization, when you talking and teaching, they ain't getting along, they ain't listening to you. I'm the man to holler at with that. I just got done completing a children's book about feelings and emotions. But I'm about to, I guess, tell the 500 plus of y'all is that recently I was diagnosed with being bipolar, specifically diagnosis of bipolar type 2. This happened 3 days after the election.
Mm.
I had just got back from South Africa and I went to therapy and got my evaluation results back, and I was told, that I was bipolar. So I've been kind of fucked up a little bit lately. You know what I mean? I'm happy about this children's book. It's about feelings, emotions, and mood, and I'm hoping that some kids that's, you feel me, dealing with emotions and feelings and moods can really get the book and formulate a language to talk with their parents about how they feeling. I'm real proud of it right now. It'll be coming out real soon. Thank you, Q, for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
um
You know, my
yeah.
that's gonna sound cynical, but I promise you'll see where I'm coming from. I almost wonder how do we get this on the MAGA banned book list, because that's gonna for sure skyrocket it to the New York Times bestseller list. So we got to find a way to get it in front of these MAGA nut jobs to get them to pretend like they can ban it. And that's the beauty of and I wanna close by asking you to share your advice, because you've built a really powerful platform. To me, that's the importance of building our own platforms. We're seeing this capitulation of corporate media, Washington Post, New York Post, Wall Street Journal, owned by billionaires, Facebook, the whole Meta empire, Twitter, TikTok, capitulating to billionaires. It's the importance of building our own independent platforms and making sure that we uphold justice and we're talking truth to power. What's your advice to folks who are trying to build their platforms? Just block and tackle stuff. What should they be doing? How can they be more effective in their messaging? How can they reach the audiences that they're trying to reach?
I feel like just being able to say what you mean and mean what you say, and recognizing that most of the times it's not what you say, but what can be justified by your words, but you still want to mean what you say and say what you mean. I feel like if you're into any type of social justice work, I feel like it's good for you to know what your lane is, what your strengths is, and what your weaknesses is. I think that everybody can't be Elon Musk, everybody can't be me, everybody can't be him, everybody can't do the same thing. I feel like when it comes to being an influencer, sometimes you can't say what you mean and mean what you say, or be able to defend what you're talking about. All you're gonna be doing is getting in the way and making it hard for people like me and Kasim. So with that being said, sometimes the easiest thing to do is just do a like, a share, or a comment. But if you want to get into this, I feel like it's just two things you gotta just accept and be able to really stand on. The first thing I believe is being able to fully accept that your biggest supporter is probably gonna be a stranger,
Yeah.
and somebody you know and love probably gonna be your biggest hater.
Yeah.
If you can accept that as being a truism and not take it personal and nobody want
Yeah.
to support me, if you can take it, just take it like, listen, man, this shit it's gonna be hard for people closest to me to see my vision and actualize my vision, because they can't see me for nothing but what they see me as. The people that's close and far from me, they can see the vision clearer because they see the vision. They ain't filtering it through they engagements and experiences with me type shit. Accept that. The second thing I say is, it sounds cliche, but consistency is not only key, but like as somebody with ADHD and bipolar, the executive function of your emotions of thinking like, hey, I put in 3 hours in making this video. You got 10 views and 0 likes. Are you consistent and still got that energy of going to video 3? What if you make 5 videos and all 5 of them flop? Are you consistent enough, and do you believe in what you're saying and doing enough to get the video 6?
Yeah, beautiful, beautifully said. And I'll just echo that point that don't try to be somebody else, be you, because there's a whole community out there looking for you. Consciously and I have two very different styles in the way we make videos. We have very different styles in the way we communicate. But he's got a massive platform, I've got a massive platform, and we've done it
Yes.
by attracting the kinds of people who are drawn to that style of communication as well as the content we're putting out there. And we cross post each other a lot because we overlap on a lot of the content we talk about. But there's certain things that I'm not going to talk about because he's the expert. I'm going to defer to him. There's certain things that he's not going to talk about because he knows that this is my space. And I think that's an area, and you already said this too, but that's an area where people get in a lot of trouble, where they talk about things that just is not their lane. If it's
Oh
not your
God.
lane, get the hell out, pull over, let the person whose lane it is, because I promise you, what you don't want to do is get canceled for talking about something where you just don't know what you're talking about. And you know, there's 8 billion people in the world. 1% of that 8 billion people is still 80 million. 1% of that is still 800,000. 1% of that is still 80,000. If you are able, yeah, 80,000, right? And so if you're still able to get just 80,000 people, that's a huge, and that's 0.0001% of the world. So you don't need to try to appeal to every person out there. You just need to appeal to the people that resonate with you. And I close with this because now more than ever, it is imperative that we are not silent in the advocacy, in the work we're doing, in the human rights we're upholding. We need to be as loud and as proud and as open about the human rights that we're fighting for as possible. We absolutely cannot afford to be silent, especially while we still have the ability to speak freely. Somebody asked, by the way, where did I get my hat? This is from Still We Rise on Instagram. Check them out. You can buy the hat. They got some amazing merch as well.
Yeah.
Conscious Lee, I'll ask you to give your final word. I'll give my final word and we'll close it out.
Man, and giving my final word, I think that it's like two different type of people in the world. I know, we use that's how I stay away from binaries, but this one right here, I feel I can sit with. It's like it's two different type of people in the world. I think it's like people that are defined by the times they live in, and people that go out to define the times they live
Ooh,
in. And I think that we have to really be very intentional about which one of those you want to be. And the second thing is really being able to find and celebrate the social life within the state of social depth that we live in. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, just because I live in despair of getting on the internet and seeing what Trump doing, crazy shit every day, I still try to find the ways to laugh and smile and appreciate life and make it where my livelihood and my happiness more is not defined based off all the chaos going on around me. It don't mean I'm not ignoring it, but I think that we got to have balance, man. The last thing I'll say is, in the name of balance, we can't live habitually on the line the way we've been used to these last 4 5 years. The way we've been able to live habitually scrolling and getting our news, getting our communication with loved ones, being able to think, being able to laugh, and that shit done on a timeline, I don't think it's going to be sustainable to your mental health. I don't think it's going to be healthy for nothing and nobody around you if you stay your ass on the timeline the way we've been used to.
yeah,
I'm practicing what I preach right now. I'm trying to literally distance myself and not always doom scrolling, but also still being aware of what's going on in this world.
yeah. Beautifully said.
A
Beautifully
work in
said.
progress. Work in
Beautifully said.
progress. And I hope you're joining with me on a work in progress of having balance, goddamn.
That's
Balance.
right. I'm going to make 2 points. One, building off of that, and my second point. I'm online a lot, but I'm also at the gym at least 6 days a week, at least 7 days a week. I'm playing pickleball at least 3, 4 days a week. I'm addicted. Okay, I may have a problem with pickleball. I may be addicted, but I love it. And the thing is, it gives me the endorphins and the rush that I get from getting physically active. That works for me. So find your piece. Maybe he's playing an instrument. Maybe he's going for a walk. Maybe he's reading a book. But find something non-screen related, non-world related that allows you to connect with yourself. Maybe it's playing with your kids. It is for me too, and I know it is for you, Conscious, as well. But find that piece and be consistent with it. And then just the final thing I'll say is this: we love the people who support us, and I
Definitely.
don't mean the people who pay to subscribe to us. If you can and you have the means, God love you. But just in general, the engagement and the community, I can't emphasize this enough. Take the time to invest in the people doing the work because this work is not easy. It is exhausting. It does cause stress. It does cause people to lose sleep. It does keep me awake at night. And when I know I have folks supporting me, it goes a long way. When I know when I get those emails, it means the world to me. So whether you subscribe as a paid subscriber or as a free subscriber, I want you to know
Definitely
I see
appreciate you.
you, I appreciate you, I cherish you, and when you see leaders like Conscious Lee, invest in him as well. Support him. Get behind him, elevate his work, because the man knows what he's talking about, and we need more of that out in the world. We're gonna do these more regularly, Conscious. We got to do these more often. I think people
Yeah.
enjoy it. We had almost 600 people watching, which is pretty amazing. Y'all be safe. Thank you for tuning in. Much love to you, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.